Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time you said yes to something and immediately felt that tight little knot in your stomach? Not because it was wrong, not because it was harmful, but because you didn't actually want to do it. You agreed to a meeting you didn't need to attend. You replied to a message you were emotionally exhausted to deal with. You said sure to a plan when all you wanted was to be alone. And here's the wild part. Most people think their problem is time management. It's not. Your real problem is permission management. You keep giving people permission to access your time, your energy, your attention without questioning the cost. And no one teaches us how expensive a yes actually is. Today I want to talk about the art of saying no. Not in a selfish, rude, burn bridges way, but in a way that quietly upgrades your life. Because here's the truth most productivity gurus won't tell you. You don't need more discipline. You don't need better habits. You need fewer commitments, especially the ones that don't belong to you in the first place. Part 1. Why we're terrible at saying no. Let's be honest. Most of us don't say yes because we want to. We say yes because we're scared of the emotional consequences of saying no. We are scared of being seen as difficult, disappointing people, looking ungrateful, missing opportunities, and the worst, being left out. There's a deep psychological reason for this. Your brain treats social rejection almost the same way it treats physical pain. So when you imagine saying no, your nervous system goes, "Danger! We might lose approval." So you say yes, and then quietly resent the person. Or worse, you resent yourself. Psychologist and author Dr. Gabor Mate once said, "When we do not know how to say no, our yes loses its value." Whew, that line is heavy. When you say yes to everything, your yes doesn't mean "I choose this." It means "I'm afraid of what happens if I don't." That's not kindness. That's emotional survival. Part 2. Your no is actually a gift. Here's a perspective shift most people have never heard. Your no isn't rejection. It's information. It tells people what you value, what you prioritize, and how you expect your time to be treated. Seth Godin puts it beautifully. Saying no is the foundation of focus. Every yes you give is a trade. You're trading your time, your energy, your attention, and your future momentum for something else. A yes is a decision to exclude everything else you could have done in that time. So when you say yes to a low-value meeting, you're saying no to deep work. When you say yes to another late night out, you're saying no to your morning routine. When you say yes to someone else's urgency, you're often saying no to your own long-term goals. High performers don't just say no to bad opportunities. They say no to good opportunities that aren't aligned with their current season of life. Warren Buffett said, "The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. Not because they're cold, but because they're protective of what compounds." Part 3. The hidden cost of always being available. Here's something no one talks about. Constant availability slowly trains people to devalue your time. If you reply instantly, people expect instant replies. If you always say yes, people assume your time is flexible. If you always adjust, people never learn to respect your boundaries. Over time, this creates an invisible hierarchy where other people's urgency becomes more important than your priorities, and you start living reactively. By the end of the day, you feel busy, but nothing meaningful moved forward. It's often just other people renting your attention. Author Cal Newport says, "If you don't protect your time, people will steal it from you." Not maliciously, but unconsciously. People default to what you allow. Part 4. How to say no without becoming a jerk. Here's the good news. Saying no doesn't mean being cold, rude, or confrontational. It just means you set clean boundaries. Most people over-explain their no. They justify it. They apologize excessively. They give long emotional speeches. That actually weakens your boundary. Here are a few powerful but respectful ways to say no. 1. The honest no. Hey, I really appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't commit to this right now. No drama, no backstory, clean. 2. The aligned no. This doesn't align with what I'm focused on this season. This reframes your no as a values-based decision. 3. The deferred no. I'm not taking on anything new this month, but feel free to check in later. This preserves relationships without sacrificing boundaries. 4. The energetic no. I don't have the energy to do this well, and I don't want to half commit. This is rare honesty, and people respect it more than fake enthusiasm. You don't owe people access just because you owe them respect. Respect is kindness. Access is a choice. They're not the same. Part 5. The emotional aftershock of saying no. Here's what no one warns you about. When you start saying no, you will feel guilt. Not because you're wrong, but because you're breaking an old pattern. Your nervous system is used to approval being your safety signal. So when you set a boundary, your body reads it as risk. This discomfort doesn't mean you did something wrong. It simply means you did something new. Think of it like emotional muscle soreness. It hurts because you're using muscles you've ignored for years. And over time, something strange happens. You start trusting yourself more. Your yes becomes rare and therefore meaningful. Your time becomes quieter but more powerful. Your life stops feeling like a to-do list you didn't write. Let me leave you with this. Every time you say yes to something you don't want, you are teaching the world how to treat you. And every time you say no to protect your energy, you are quietly voting for the life you actually want. Saying no isn't about being difficult. It's about being deliberate. It's not about closing doors. It's about choosing which ones are worth walking through. So the next time you feel that familiar pressure to say yes, pause and ask yourself, is this coming from intention or from fear of disappointing someone? Because the life you want doesn't come from doing more. It comes from having the courage to choose less, but better. If this hit a little too close to home, drop a comment saying, no, not to me, but to the version of your life that's been shaped by other people's expectations.